Hello, everybody, and welcome to another My Music. In a minute, my maths shall be challenged because today's guest is 3Times7, which I think I can actually do that. But you'll find out whether I can or not after this.
Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop. Keep on, don't stop.
Hello, Jenny, David. Thanks for coming along.
Right.
3Times7 is 21.
Correct.
Yes.
Well done.
And what's the significance?
Officially, it's from a song called Tipitina. And when we first started making music together, I was around 21 years old, and it sounded very cool. And we thought, oh, that'll do for now, and we'll change it later. And now it has stuck, and it lives with us. It's also the best hand of cards, the best age for whiskey.
Is it?
Most of them are alike.
Yeah. Well, hexadecimal, etc., is sort of like the root of all logic, isn't it? As well.
Yeah.
So there you go. Has anyone ever gone? You know, why 3Times7, not 4Times7, or has anyone ever challenged you on it?
And they do like to try and guess, especially if we're doing a duo piece. Why is it 3Times7?
Oh, right.
Got the full band out, and there's 6 of us. Why is it why 3Times7, not 3Times6? Like, yeah.
It's just that it looks great on a t-shirt, is what you should say.
No, that I'll use that
Also
from now
true.
on.
Yeah, that is what you need to do. So, go back to the beginning. How did you meet? What was the catalyst for all of this starting?
I started in a little grunge band called Trevor's Head, who are still going, around about the place. But I wanted to do more blues things, and because I'm a massive fan of sort of brought up in B.B. King and Eric Clapton and Buddy Guy and all the rest of that. And Jenny was like, "Oh, I'll sing some blues." So I was like, "Okay, fair enough then. We'll go and do that." And then people started booking us and then started paying us, and so I thought I better keep this up then.
There you go. Jenny, had you
Yeah.
sung blues before? Had you, or was this just literally one day whilst you were in the kitchen somewhere, you went, oh, I'll sing some blues?
Well, yeah. I studied musical theatre, so I did.
Right.
I used to love the bluesy songs that are within the musical theatre realm. So when Dave was like, "Oh, you want to sing some blues?" I was like, "Well, that sounds quite cool." And I actually really love these old tunes anyway. So it kind of it fitted perfectly for what I wanted to be doing. And it was a nice experience actually starting out just with one song, and then all of a sudden it started to build into, oh, now we need a 25-minute set. Now we need a half-hour set. And
you discovered the fear and the difficulty of singing in front of like an audience of 2 as opposed to an audience of however many thousands.
Yeah, it's a very different experience when you're singing as yourself rather than as a character. So there was a bit of a learning experience there for us.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. You've got to make it count, even for the 2 or 3 people that are there in front of you, haven't you? I mean, you've got to...
And they can see you, and the scary bit is you can see them. And if you can read their faces, and if they're not liking something, they won't hide it. And it's a very different experience to.
Been there, seen it, done it, got the t-shirt. I used to like to get right up in their faces because I feel like that way they're definitely going to be seeing it. Right?
Oh, yeah,
I actually feel like the worst thing in the world is when people just stand at a bar and just carry on with their pint and just don't acknowledge that it's going on at all. That's kind of the worst.
Someone heckled and said, "I really hate this," then just gave it absolutely no
response.
response.
I hate this. No, you don't.
Yeah,
Come
or-
up here and do better.
Or something.
yeah, and at least you can have a conversation with them. Yeah.
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 But what you've done though is you listening to some of your music across the interweb and whatever. You're taking like blues roots and whatever, but you're trying to make sure that it stays a little bit at times stays a little bit dancey, that people can bop along to this as well. That's
Yeah.
that's important for you, yeah.
It's important for me the music makes you feel something, makes you feel good, more often than not. And so I like songs that make you feel uplifted in whatever way. And if you choose to express that through dance, great. If you choose to express that through just grinning at us, that's also fine. Like anything that boosts your mood, really. Oh,
My old bassist once described blues music as the original emo, and I'm on a constant lifelong mission to prove them wrong. So I want people to feel happy. And so there's too many sort of like people singing sad songs about how everything sucks. That especially in this day and age, it's nice that put a more positive message out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. What's the inspiration for your writing? What sort of things do you tend to look at?
anything. We've written songs about
Anything. The
Bayou.
garbage is going out.
Yeah, literally. A Murder on the Bayou is about Bricktop, who is a serial killer from New Orleans that we found out about on a ghost walk whilst we were out there. We've written songs about it raining. Rain in Chicago was about a day that it absolutely poured down with rain.
But that's the perfect example. So we were sitting in this the Chicago Museum, absolutely raining like hell. And Jenny started writing, I don't like it when it rains in Chicago. And I like to flip things on their head. So I was like, no, I like it when it rains in Chicago. I'm trying to find the positive spin on everything.
The flip on that was like, I was like, oh, it's soaking me to my bones and I'm cold. And it's this old bluesy track in my mind. And then all of a sudden there's like, no, it's soaking through my feet, but I've got the place to myself. And then you're like, actually, yeah. Okay, how do we swap it around then? And
We've got a new song coming up called "Dressing for the Weather," which is all about no, it's the weather that's wrong, not I, when I choose my clothing.
Oh, I see.
I walk out in a black t-shirt and the sun's beating down, and I'm like, no, I've chosen the correct t-shirt. It's the weather that's wrong.
Right. Or you go out in sandals and shorts and whatever, and it's raining.
And yeah,
It's the weather's fault, right? Yeah.
I dress
get it.
for how I want it to be.
Yeah. That's a good. So is there kind of, it sounds like there's a little bit of a push and pull dynamic going on there where, one of you might come up with something that's like
editing and
a
challenge.
viewpoint of the day, from a sort of like realist point of view, and then Dave, you come along going, no, let's make it happy.
Everything, all the characters in my songs are caricatures of real events and daft things people have said.
Yeah.
And then I sit and edit or help or throw spanners into the mix.
When did you start all of this? When did you first get together?
Oh, about 10, 11 years ago, something like that.
It was a while.
Right. Okay. Yeah. How did you find like the whole COVID period, for example? I mean, was that? I mean, it was a difficult period for everybody, but did you manage to find positive situations in amongst all of that was going on?
We got given a week's leave by the government at one point to meet up. So we grabbed a mate of mine called John Steele, who's a fabulous drummer in a band called Tiger. Shout out, Teiger. And we jumped into the studio and recorded a little EP called Smile While I Sing the Blues.
Smile While I Sing the Blues. Yeah, I love it.
Smiles. But also during that period, we lost a friend called Paul to COVID. And he was a drummer that played with us in a band, and that we wrote a song about, which is definitely not a happy song. It makes my heart really sad every time we sing it, but it means a lot. Heaven Needs Another Blues Man, and it's a really beautiful but it hurts track. One of those ones that you're like, oh, needed to get it out.
But it was tough. There wasn't, obviously, there wasn't a lot of particular gigs. I remember they opened up the Garden in a pub once, and so I went and saw a mate play there. My favourite little keepsake from the whole time, though, is we were allowed to meet up in a garden where we were sort of writing tunes over WhatsApp and things. And I've got a load of demos, which just basically the background is all songbird songs, because basically the birds were just cheeping away in the background while we were
Yeah.
doing all these demos, which I think is quite sweet.
Oh, it was very difficult times for a lot of people, but particularly sort of musicians, etc. But I think we saw a lot of. It's interesting you mentioned nature, though, because I think we saw a lot of nature come out in that time that we'd not seen for a long time. We had like one day we had a sparrowhawk hit into the front window and concussed itself.
No way.
Like, yeah, absolutely. We had to wrap it up in the blanket, sort of take it back out, let it wake up, and whatever else, But it's because all of this nature would normally keep itself away from the busyness of humans.
Yeah.
But there weren't humans about, so it all came out to say hello.
The time to notice it. Where I got furloughed for a short period of time, and I suddenly found myself with no work to go to and no people that I could go and see. And so we'd spend time in the garden, just, pottering about, tidying it up, doing stuff with my mum and dad. And you notice then you've got the time to notice the sounds of the birds and the how far away the town is if you're going to walk down there, and just all the little.
Oh yeah, we live in the countryside here, and we went on walks that like aren't that far away from the house, and we didn't know this existed.
Yeah, exactly.
We never knew this was here. Look, there's a brook and a stream and a little, we didn't know this was here. Yeah, it's because we're all so busy. Is that something your music you hope speaks into of the world these days, because we are all so busy? I mean, do you feel like your music is asking people to slow down for a minute or two?
Yeah, definitely. We've got so one of the guys that we do a lot of recording with is a guy called James. He's does a lot of piano work on some of our tunes, and he wanted to do a little co-writing thing. And so he was coming up with the idea of people don't actually have time to sort of invest in relationships these days. And then us being us, we flipped it on its head slightly, and the whole thing is about taking the time. And that is the song's called Sunday, because it's like Sunday, I've got nothing on, there's nothing good to watch on the telly. So I've actually got time to slow down and actually get into that. So definitely part of the message is to sort of like appreciate what you've got, and just try and keep positive, and that even when bad things happen, there are actual positive things there.
Yeah. And
sorry, I was going to say that there's almost a bit of a sort of David Byrne thing going on there. Yeah, do you like the song "Nothing But Flowers," which is almost like the antithesis of Big Yellow Taxi? Yeah, where he's talking about there used to be a supermarket there, and then there's nothing but flowers, and there used to be a parking lot, now there's nothing but trees, and it's almost turning it on its head, really.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we do and we have done quite a lot of open mic nights, and I was chatting to someone the other day at a gig we did, and they was going, there's a lot of sad songs out there. I think a lot of people write sad songs because it's easier to get emotions into a sad song without sounding cheesy. So I always liked the difficulty of writing a happy song without making it sort of REM Shining Happy People.
Yeah, without making it too kind of sickly.
Yeah, exactly. It's the sugar, but not too much sugar.
That's why I like blues, because it's all double entendres and on the nose and cheeky, and lots of blues songs are sort of daft, silly, and happy.
Yeah. Are there sort of modern inspirations to you? I mean, other than sort of like the traditional kind of blues music, etc. Are there people that you're listening to today that you feel like
still releasing Jenny is a massive fan of John Cleary.
Yeah. Love John Cleary.
Love Kingfish and
Yeah.
Samantha Fish.
And To Shake a Trucks Band.
To Shake a Trucks Band,
Yeah,
phenomenal. So yeah, no, there's definitely a lot of retro. We get told we like to lean heavily on the retro, but that doesn't mean that there aren't. You like Lake Street Drive?
Lake Street. I love Lake Street Drive. Her voice is beautiful. A very unusual voice, but a lovely voice. Sammy Ray from Friends.
Sammy Ray, yeah. Big fan of them.
Jazzy, soul-y vibes. It tends not to be so much from what's actually in the charts, the official charts, per se, but there's loads of really good music being made out there. For my taste, I have to hunt for it a little bit more than most, but I particularly love, soulful, slightly jazzy, bluesy, funky vibes. So anything that sits within that world gets added to my
that. I love that. Do you get a bit annoyed when people say, "Oh, there's no good music made these days"?
Kind of, but I can understand if you only listen to the radio and the 10 songs that go around and round in circles on the radio, how you might feel that way. I can understand. But I think if you take the time to go and explore your way through a Spotify or a, huge bank of music, and you take some time and you go and follow the trails, you can find some really, really good stuff out there.
I was thinking about this the other day. I think nostalgia is become a huge part of our culture. If we look at, for instance, everything fighting off, we've got the Disney remakes, we've got the Star Wars stuff coming back and things like that. And so songs that I liked that came out in the sort of like the early noughties and stuff like that. A lot of people, they don't make good music like this these days. But now, 20 years on, everyone's going, they're brilliant, they're amazing. They don't make good music these days. So I think sometimes they've just got to sit in the zeitgeist enough to become nostalgic.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is there's so much these days. The mechanism by which people have or get music, get information, get TV and whatever, that's all changed. We didn't have the choice when we were younger, right? When I was young, turn the telly on, it took 12 and a half minutes to warm up. There were only so many channels, right? It stopped at a certain time of night. That was it, So within a lifetime, we've gone from that to literally everything's on 24 hours a day, and there's too much of it.
I think the challenge has changed as well. So if we were back to the 70s or even the 80s or something like that, you wouldn't be able to make an album and put it out. Nowadays you can, but so the difficulty is not making the album and putting it out, it's finding a way to get heard through the noise. So it's probably just as difficult, but the difficulty is in a different part.
Yeah, well, like with an album though, when I learned to drive, my car had one CD living in it, and I would listen to that CD round and around and around and around because, I was driving and I couldn't change it, and so you just listen to it on repeat, and it lives with you because you've listened to it so often. It becomes part of your reference. So for me, one of the ones that I had was Eye to the Telescope by Katie Tunstall.
Yeah, sure.
Approximately 4,000 times because it lived in my car. Whereas now, when I'm in the car, I've got access to every song that's ever existed, whether it be through playlists or through, what the thing is recommending that you listen to. Maybe try something new, and you've got 50,000 songs to hand. It's a very different experience.
And we have to actually train ourselves as listeners to not press that button and shift to the next thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's an audience now that are used to going, okay, I'm bored of that now. Next. Right. Whereas before you used to put something on and you would, I'm gonna use this word, but you'll understand what I mean by it. But we used to endure the whole thing, right? And because sometimes when you first listen to something or whatever, it's not necessarily comfortable for the whole journey, and sometimes you may actually be listening to something that's difficult for you to listen to or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But now people just go, oh, I don't like that particular bit, and go over the top of it. But whereas we would have had to learn the patience to listen to that, and then you learn the appreciation of that. So it's
the artist is then allowed to take you somewhere on more of a journey, right? So the person who's created that music, that album, they've curated it in such a way that it's a single piece of art, if you like, and you experience the whole thing rather than just looking at a small piece of it at a time. You may not have the same journey if you look at it as small pieces rather than as the whole picture.
I think we've all been guilty, me included, of skipping over the second half of Layla.
That's true.
It's true. I mean, I write for a living as well, and I play with that. I actually play with the dynamic of that, and I kind of tease people with it. And I know that, like, I'll do things when I'm writing where I go, oh, and you've started reading again now, because I know that, like, people will skim read. Yeah, people don't read things even properly. They start there at the beginning. They want that hook line at the beginning. They're coming somewhere in the middle, and you can normally go, huh? You haven't read the last paragraph.
Yeah, he was dead.
And they go, yeah, I haven't. Oh, I better go back and read it now. I mean, it's a strange time that we live in, but I think it's good to see that some artists are trying to encourage people back into those habits of actually listening again, whatever. Where can people see 3Times7?
We're live in person.
well, yeah, no, in a casket, yeah, of course.
Usually around like the southeast, so we do a lot in Horsham and Croydon and Bracknell and Redhill, loads in Redhill at the minute. Reigate, anywhere sort of in that southeast, Dorking, even Guildford.
We are coming to your way though. We are going to be in Bristol at Mr. Wolf's on the 10th of October.
Wow, there you go.
It's quite a nice one. We've got a European tour we're whacking out again. We've done a couple of European excursions. We've got one coming again next year in September.
Yeah,
which is always fun. We get to play some odd places.
But it is all on our website if people want to come and see us live. We have a tour that shows all of the places that we're going to be playing coming up, and that's www.3times7.co.uk.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. I hope people come and support you out there. Where haven't you played in the UK yet that you would perhaps like to, if there are people watching that might be able to help that happen?
Well, I was depping in an Alice in Chains band and got to go up and play in Newcastle, Edinburgh and Glasgow, and that was brilliant, especially Edinburgh. I loved Edinburgh, so I'd like to take the band up there.
I'd like to do that too. Yeah. Cool.
There we go. If you're from the Edinburgh area and you're a promoter or whatever, if you're listening, 3Times7 would like to come up. There we go. Make it happen. It's as simple as that. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing a little bit today about your music. If people are listening and they're going to go on the old Spotify and whatever, because let's face it, that's where people tend to start these days. Well, what song should they start with?
Well, that's the difficult thing with us. We have so many different ones. Our biggest hit so far is this one called Wait, which is a nice little poppy number. We also have a slightly more bluesy one, if you're feeling more that, with 40 Days, which was the big lockdown song. So, those are the good places to start. And then you can start digging into the weird and peculiar aspects of my brain.
Oh, there you go. So Wait or 40 Days, depending upon whether you want to start with pop or blues. You decide, people. There you go. You can, but don't just listen. Add it to a playlist, and go and see 3Times7. That's the message that we're leaving here today. Thank you both so very much for coming on and talking to me today. It's been an absolute pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. The wonderful 3Times7. If you've enjoyed this, please do go and share it with your friends and family. And you can find out about how this all started at mymusicpodcast.com. We will be back soon with more conversation around music very shortly. But until then, bye for now.